Hey, okay, we're on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, and variations thereof, welcome once again to the Selectives Lorecast, a casual Elder Scrolls podcast. Today we're talking about Mankar Camoran, everybody's favorite bad guy from the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. My name is Rotten Deadite, but everybody calls me Rotten Deadite. I fucked that up. My name is Chris Nelson, but everybody calls me Rotten Deadite. With me today are...
Alright, I'm Corey. I have other names, but that's what I'm going by right now.
Okay, all right, yeah. I have other names. You fuck 'em.
My name is Chris Franzen, and my new Argonian name is Rides Makar's Dick.
My name is Luther, and I go by Darcius, and I don't really have any other funny joke because I'm awful at jokes.
I am Putnam, and my face actually does exist.
Yep. Yay! So that's right. This is the first time you guys have been lucky enough to see Putnam and his magnificent lore beard.
Or most of us in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If the forecast.
And one of these days I'll have my little brother sit in on one of these casts just to show off his beard. It's the sexiest thing you've ever seen in your life. It's thick and long and lustrous, and you'll hate him the second you see him.
And it's all curly.
I'll have a beard.
Like, my Irish and Arab ancestry come together so perfectly in this beard. Incredible.
Okay, so let's do the quick rundown for casuals. Who's Mankar Camoran? Mankar Camoran is the bad guy that you get to see more frequently in Oblivion. I say frequently because he's not, Mehrunes Dagon, who you only see at the very end of the game, and you see a lot of them. But Mankar Camoran you get to see at least a couple of times, and he is the leader of the Mythic Dawn, a cult which is dedicated to bringing about the return of Mehrunes Dagon to Oblivion, to Tamriel, which has been attempted a few times in the past. And hold on, I get to that. Why he's doing that is very interesting. So basically, he's voiced by Terrence Stamp.
Oh.
And he easy clean up. I'll get a tissue. And he is probably a Bosmer.
It's arguable.
Yeah.
Maybe his mother was an Altmer.
Argonian, yeah.
Or something. Yeah, he's half Bosmer, half Altmer. Who can say?
He's an
Or he just
Okay, so
shaved
the
himself with a
context of
razor.
that, the Cameron dynasty were all Bosmer.
Hold on a second. We know for a fact that he was part of the Camoran dynasty?
I am not sure about that. Maybe he just
Yeah.
has the name.
Yeah,
Well,
there is no...
They're not a thing for most Altmer, though, as far as I know.
Whatever it is, Chris has the answer.
Yeah. Franzen? No pressure.
Okay. So originally, I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd say maybe originally he was a Bosmer. And now I say originally for those people that are not in the know, Mankar Camoran kind of reinvented his whole identity. It talks about it in the Mythic Dawn Commentaries. So pull that shit up because that is like the best source of it's really.
Yeah, we will link it in the we promise this every episode, and every episode we fuck it up. But I will link it in the description because it's incredibly vital to this conversation.
Yeah, but he used the razor to cut his Got that?
The razor. Tell him what the razor is.
Butthole.
The razor.
Cut his butthole.
Mehrunes razor. Could
Like
be
the actual
razor,
knife
the
that
actual
you get in the game.
fucking
Daedric artifact.
yeah. He used that thing, which tends to move around a lot, and he acquired it, used it, cut his own Nimic back. So he, in doing so, was able to reinvent his identity from conception on. which there is a line in there. If somebody has it and beats me to
Mimic
it.
surgery? Is that it? The surgery one?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard people. I think Warden Tux made a post on that, which I agree with. But there's a specific line where he talks about going back and like preceding his own father or mother or something like that.
It's so a Mimic is they don't really talk about. They mention this in other places in Elder Scrolls lore, but not. They don't use the same word for it, obviously, and they.
I think Battlespire.
And sometimes it's kind of like it's kind of like a loose connection. Like sometimes we kind of have to get a little creative to connect a concept in lore to the idea of a Mimic. But basically, the idea is that it's your if you it's like the identity spiritually and physically and metaphysically and magically and so on that everybody has. Like many people out there, many fantasy fans are familiar with the concept of like when you summon a demon, you have that demon's real name, and because you possess that demon's true name, or sometimes in some settings magicians have like a true name. And that true name, if you know their true name, then you have power over them because you know their essence. Essentially, you're able to control the very fabric of their being, and that's kind of what a Mimic is like. Except what Mankar Camoran did was he used Mehrunes' razor to perform what you could call surgery on his own Mimic. The way he did that is a little, I don't know, I don't think it's ever actually outright stated. It's a little vague in my head, but one way or another he did something that I've been seeing a lot of in Hermetic philosophy, which is the idea of becoming, the antecedent of your own parents? Is that it? Or precedent of your own family? I can't remember. But basically the idea. Okay, Jesus, I'm weaving like I always do in these explanations. But when you're born to your mother and father, you are born with literally their DNA, but metaphysically their spirits inside of you. And so the will of your mother and father. And like their personality and their predispositions and so on are part of your part of your essence. They're part of you. And the argument that some Hermetic philosophers made, and some modern philosophers and some modern psychologists make, is that a person is a slave, to use a Mankar Camoran term, to their own to their mother and father for the rest of their lives, unless you can, in the case of Hermetic philosophy, perform certain magics or certain rituals or certain things to become the master of your own fate, to essentially erase your parents from your spirit and your essence and become completely 100% in control of what you do all the time. And that's what Mankar Camoran did, but because this is the Elder Scrolls, that gave him unbelievable magic power. And so, which leads us to the line that I think a lot of people really love to talk about in the Mysteriums Arcades, in the commentaries, which is, "He who enters paradise enters his own mother." And what that means, aside from being incredibly edible, is that Mankar Camoran has returned to his womb and caused his own birth. So he's become the architect of his own destiny by returning to his mother and essentially becoming his own parent. Yeah. Or at least I hope that's what it means.
Yeah, well, and that's even reflected when you actually go to paradise. And
the actual place in Oblivion that you go to at the very end. If you haven't finished Oblivion, by the way, I'm sorry.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But it's been like fucking how many years now? So get on that
9.
shit. That even Paradise itself reflects that in a very fucking like masochistic way. But to put it in terms where people might understand, I had asked during an Ask Me Anything on Reddit. Did I, or what was it there? I don't know. It might have been on IRC or something like that.
Might have been on. I think it was on Nomos Board. But...
Oh yeah, it was right after the Ask Me Anything, and he let us ask one more question, and kind of compared. It was more towards how Mankar changed himself, but I think it applies to Paradise itself. But like Hellraiser and the Cenobites,
Right.
And thinking of that in regards to what you see in Paradise and people being, you know, for lack of a better word, tortured. You know, it strikes a very close resemblance to some of the parts we see in like Hellraiser 2, I think mostly, because that starts to explore more of the Cenobites and the labyrinth and all that shit, and seeing how, you know, someone might be transformed through this kind of masochistic pleasure.
Yeah, of it's the like I've written before on the Elder Scrolls lore, on TES lore, on the subreddit about BDSM and the idea of gaining wisdom by I'm talking about 36 Lessons Sermon 14 stuff here, about gaining wisdom by submission, and I don't recommend it. You kind of really have to twist your brain to see how this could be considered a good thing. I mean, you've got to really alter your perceptions to think about it as a good thing. But the idea that I think that Kirkbride was shooting for with that answer was that he was suggesting that it was possible with these Mythic Dawn worshippers that they would go to, quote, Paradise and be tortured by Mehrunes Dagon's Daedra, and at some point or another, that torture would purify them in some way, and they would become worthy of entering Paradise. I think this has... I'm going to get really politically crazy at this point and say that I think this has some kind of a religious philosophy connection to the crucifixion of Christ, but I don't know that much about it, and I really wish Michael Ziegler...
Oh yeah,
because he would be able to talk about that. He's really good at that.
I just always looked at it as that if you're being tortured, eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to turn inward on yourself. And you're going to turn inward on yourself, and it's kind of like, I don't want to call it a dream, but it's like a miniature dream type thing. You're going to reinvent reality. I guess you to get in touch with your Nimic and remake yourself and just be like, I'm not that anymore. Or something.
Yeah, I'm not that person who is being tortured anymore. I'm something else. That's a really cool idea.
That sounds kind of like Buddhist meditation almost.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
it's more painful.
But yeah, way more painful.
Yeah, way more painful. I mean, you know, the Buddha, he starved himself, but that was the most he did to himself.
Well, and he did it to himself is a very important point. Is that
Buddha's
suffering came from his own choice.
Yeah, Mankar probably tortured himself. If you think about it. I mean,
well, yeah, he
I would
did.
assume that Mankar, the path that he thought was right to that he used to ascend to use on others, like so. He's obviously going to torture somebody else if he tortured himself. If it works for him, it's going to work for somebody else, right?
Well, that's kind of one of the things that sort of bothers me about, like, a lot of Hermetic mysticism and a lot of Hermetic philosophy sort of assumes that it worked for me and therefore it's going to work for you. I mean, like, that's, like, I'm reading Carl Jung's Red Book right now, and it makes, like, I mean, it does a lot to sort of explain mythic, like, you know, like myths in terms of, like, you know, early psychology, which is really great. But it also deals a lot with a lot of the concepts that he talks a lot about in Seven Sermons to the Dead and some other stuff, where he talks about, you know, expanding his or becoming more spiritually fulfilled and seeking happiness and all that kind of stuff. And the whole time I'm reading it, I'm just thinking, well, I'm glad it worked for you, dude. But I mean, everybody's different. It's not like this isn't. This doesn't necessarily is not a guarantee for that it's going to work for everyone. And I assume that Mankar Camoran is going to be really disappointed when he first starts torturing somebody and the shit don't work out.
Yeah.
And
He's going to be like, well, clearly, I mean, it's Mankar Camoran, so he's going to be like, he was not worthy, obviously, and or whatever, because he's voiced by Terrence Stamp. What else would Terrence Stamp say? I mean, clearly a bad guy, but yeah. So I don't know. To sum up, in case it wasn't obvious, I don't know. Maybe I got distracted and I missed it. But the reason why there's some debate between whether or not Mankar Camoran is a Bosmer or an Altmer is because the Camoran dynasty, which we assume he is part of, and again, I don't know if we ever got a guaranteed reply on that or not. But shares the last name, and he's an elf, so good connection. If he's part of the Camoran dynasty, that means that he's a Bosmer, because Camoran dynasty are Bosmer. But in the game, he's clearly Altmer. Clearly Altmer.
Yeah.
Now, you've seen Bosmer in
even Altmer.
Yeah, you've seen Bosmer in Oblivion. It's really hard to, take seriously a bad guy who's played with the same face model as,
Arga.
Oh, champion, is that you? Bayazura. I mean, they clearly wanted somebody tall and imposing, and the Bosmer just don't cut it. And it's entirely possible that at some point or another they just went, for Christ's sake, make him an Altmer, and fucking we'll figure it out. and fortunately, there's this whole story about him reinventing, his Nimic. The reason why he uses the fact that he uses the Mehrunes Dagon's razor, the Mehrunes razor, is interesting because I'm sorry, but that knife is just not nearly that fucking good in the game. It's just not.
Well, you gotta know how to use it.
What was it? Just a knife with like a 20% chance of instantly killing certain things?
Yeah, I think it can banish Daedra in Skyrim. I don't remember what it did in Oblivion. I think it might have been instant death.
I mean, let's put it this way: Mankar Camoran doesn't roll ones. Period. So.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that every Daedric artifact has like some sort of like secret ability that obviously you can't. It's an in-game. It's not an in-game effect. It's an effect that you need to understand the artifact and know how to use it. So you got Mehrunes razor, and then you've got like the skeleton key, and the skeleton key can like hack reality or some weird shit like that.
Excellent point. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's stuff that the artifacts can do that we don't realize. The razor can cut you. You can literally cut yourself into whatever you want to be. So I don't know. There's
Sunder and Keening were used to tune Lorkhan's heart, for Christ's sake. But what did we do with it? You waxed up.
We whacked it and it blew up.
Gave it to some guy who used it to whack something.
Yeah, I pretty much hit things in the face until they fell over. Yeah.
Thankfully, he didn't manage to bind the entire Breton race to you. Just himself.
Just one Breton, which, let's face it, is more than enough.
Dragonborn used to be a crowd by the end of the game, but
yeah, I know. By the time you finish Skyrim, you've vanilla Skyrim, you still got the option of like 5 different followers.
Not just followers, but you've got Arniel Gain and Lucian LeChance available at your whim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
Plus
that
a
actually
dog,
reminds me.
plus
Talking about Mehrunes the Razor and its
Speak of the devil! Michael Ziegler, there you are.
So you like
Yes,
how
silent.
Mehrunes the Razor can do more than you find in game. It's kind of like how, as the Dragonborn, you can't shout people apart or take down entire. Well, you can actually take down entire armies with one shout, but the armies have to be really tightly packed.
That's true. Well, that's that is kind of one of the things that they don't really mention in a lot of stories in the Elder Scrolls is what the Daedric artifacts are fully capable of doing. Like what Molag Bal's mace is probably fucking amazing. You know,
Whatever it does.
whatever
Yeah.
it does, I'm sure is terrifying as hell.
Yeah,
But-
I'm sure Boethiah's sword is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
Do you have any blade?
Goldbrand.
Do you have any armor?
Oh no, you're talking about
Isn't Goldberg Boethiah's?
Yeah, Ben.
isn't Goldbrand Boethia?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is Gold-
But there's
do you have
also
any blade?
the ebony mail or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Umbra has an entire friggin' book, so.
Anyway, back to Cameron. I have a question, specifically, I'm sure, for Chris, because he actually probably knows. What does it mean in the Mythic Dawn commentaries when he says, "Come slow and bring 4 keys"?
Basically what Martin makes you collect, like old school World of Warcraft quest style.
Mhm.
Collect this and bring it back to me.
So
Like the armor of Tiber Septum. I don't even remember what all this shit was. What was like an
Blood of the
ion?
Daedra. Blood of the Daedra.
No, he wanted the armor of Tiber Septum, a bunch of Varla stone, the Mysterian Xarxes,
Yeah.
and some
Okay.
Daedric artifact, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was any Daedric artifact, if I remember correctly.
I gave him Azura's star in my first playthrough. That was dumb.
Woo! No, don't do that. Yeah. I can't remember what I gave him.
Crows.
I think I gave him Molag Bal's mace because I wasn't using it or something. Whatever it is, I gave him.
Oh,
I
I'm
remember.
sure I'll give him Malakath's hammer, because that thing's
Oh
piece of shit.
yeah, it was terrible.
There you go, have a lone Droog. It's awful.
I wonder
Yeah.
if you could use the
I guess-
razor. I never
I
tried
guess
that.
goes with Malakath.
Oh shit, that's a good question. I wonder if you get some special dialogue for the Razor. Yeah, I hope you do.
They brought Sean Bean back for a small DLC, you're saying?
No, I don't think they did. Yeah. Besides, I just kill them off again. So here's a fun question: Why did Mankar Camoran want to bring Mehrunes Dagon into Tamriel?
Because it's his right.
Ooh.
Because he liked little kittens.
Best
He
answer.
doesn't want to bring the Dawn back, is what I understood it as, the Dawn. But I don't know why he thinks that Molag Bal will bring the Dawn.
Well, what dawns do we know about in Elder Scrolls? I mean, that's pretty easy. I mean,
Well, you got, obviously the Dawn era, but
yeah. Okay. Why is that important?
Well,
the
Why would an
guys-
Altmer want to bring back to the why would an Altmer want to bring people back to the Dawn era?
because they Elmafade, duh. Because you're
Mm.
They'd all
closer
be
to your
gone.
ancestors.
Essentially.
Because
it's a return to the original spirit.
exactly because Mankar Camoran was secretly a Thalmor.
Yeah.
Boom! That's the
Well, we
fucking
know
big floor, bitch.
he was the. We all know that Dagon wants to go back to his original spirit form.
Or vice versa, the Thalmor were working for Mankar Camoran.
That would actually be kind of interesting.
I mean, think about it. Think about it. Like, all right, you got Chancellor Okado. That's all like, hey, I'm in charge here. Oh, we don't have any armies. They're all off in the other provinces
Can we read
fighting.
that picture of
But then, oh
Okado
my God,
looking
they were
down
never
through this whole
They
thing?
were never anywhere. They were just fucking jacking off somewhere, and he's telling all these lies, saying that they're fighting, and they didn't do shit. So Okada was playing some sort of game, and all I'm saying is, and then all of a sudden he gets whacked by the Thalmor. Like, come on,
Mhm.
come on.
Yeah.
That was an agent
Come on.
that served his purpose, and then he was getting removed from the playing field. Like, come on.
It's a
Well.
conspiracy, I tell you.
It's a conspiracy.
Oh, dude, it's an Underking conspiracy, 100%. 100%.
Totally.
No,
How
so
many kings have been assassinated, but actually assassinated? It wasn't some sort of weird conspiracy whose end goal wasn't actually the assassination of the king.
Nah, I'm sure that played into it somehow.
I'm sure Okada was letting, things happen. Oh, there's these Mythic Dawn folks who want to kill the Emperor. Yeah, ignore that report. Whatever.
Nah, it's fine.
Oh. Yeah, we won't post a guard in
just-
this incredibly important spot right here.
Yeah.
Well,
What that prison cell has a secret passage that leads out of the city? I'm sure it's just throw anybody in there.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh.
So why? So come on, let's get to the meaty stuff. Why does Mehrunes Dagon have anything to do with Tamriel in the first place, according to?
All right. Well, the short of it is Tamriel I did drop, but the long of it is that Tamriel is actually a plane of oblivion, and
According to
that
Mankar
plane of
Camoran.
oblivion is called Dawn's
maybe a plane of oblivion. Hold on, conceivably. All right.
Well, I'm explaining it from
His
Dagon's and/or Mankar's point of view.
Yeah,
So,
fair enough.
Tamriel is a plane of oblivion called Dawn's Beauty, and the prince of that oblivion was Lorkhan. And he got swashbuckled and killed.
Wait, whoa, hold on, Chick. Swashbuckled? Hornswoggled. Damn it, son! Don't you talk Southern slang with that.
Weren't Oriel and the rest hornswoggled?
Hornswoggled? Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I got that wrong. I'm sorry. You were saying?
Anyway, for you.
Okay, so Lorkhan is the prince of a Daedric plane called Tamriel in the same respect that, other Daedric princes are the princes of their respective planes.
Well, they're called princes because Lorkhan was the king. And,
Ooh.
oh, yeah.
Good.
And, so Dagon is returning, in Mankar's opinion, is returning to Dawn's Beauty as a reclaimer of what is rightfully, the sons and daughters of Lorkhan, belongs to them. So he's coming back and it's like, it's mine! It's my birthright! Blah, blah, blah. The sons and daughters of Padme, I guess, would be a better...
Right. In other words, the Daedra and not the Aedra.
Yeah. And so it looks at it. The reason why the Daedra didn't have, it's kind of like the reason why the Daedra didn't take part in creation is because it was Lorkhan's, and the Aedra tried to usurp him, and now they're trying to come back and reclaim it for their old king.
Right.
Yeah, but how is all of a sudden the focus shifted from Lorkhan to Mehrunes Dagon
Because Dagon's sphere is that of revolution and destruction, and in order to to change things, which there's this whole theory that Dagon never really came back there to even take the plane itself, but to just change it up, is that in order to remake the Dawn, there has to be a significant change, a revolution, and through destruction, that revolution is going to be brought about.
Right.
And that's why out of all the Daedric princes, Dagon was chosen because of his sphere and because of his,
His idiom.
That's as good as explanation as any, I would say. I mean, it fits too with what we know of Nordic myths and how there's always awful fighting, which is usually some sort of revolution, which turns into once the coin flips and it's become the start of a new Kelpa, then it's I guess it's still revolution. It's the rebel overthrowing the king, but.
Yeah, he's also kind of the embodiment of true chaos, no lawlessness in a way, where
Freedom.
Because only in chaos can one be their own sovereign, and yeah, but that's why it's Mehrunes Dagon, not any other 16.
Yeah. Okay. It could have been easily Boethia too. I mean, Boethia could have caused revolution too, since she's the Prince of Plots and all that. But
she's. But Boethia is actually Trinimac consumed by.
Okay, let's rein this shit.
All right, hold on.
Well, okay, if we're going to the tinfoil
By
hats,
the guilt of murder of Lorkhan.
if we're going to the tinfoil hats, then what
We're
is
always tinfoil hats here, boy.
what was? Yeah, oh, I know. But okay, so you got Mehrunes Dagon. That's his name. But when if you read the 6 fights of Aldudagga, they just call him Dagon.
Yeah.
And they also call him Leaper Demon King, obviously. But he's just called Dagon. So where is Mehrunes like the actual Razor? Do you think?
Right.
Because I didn't always think this, but I mean, there is a theory out there that Dagon, like the razor was forged for Dagon, and he used it and it drove him to destruction and to destroy instead of to save, because he was going to use it to save Tamriel, and instead he used it to destroy Tamriel, or he's going to use it to destroy Tamriel. It changed his proto-nymic or something.
Well,
like that, so.
Is destroying Tamriel
Saving it.
Saving it?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Conceivably, yeah. It could be that the purpose of the razor was to save Tamriel, but the nature of the razor was to destroy things, and therefore it finds the. It makes it happen with what it has, and what it has is the ability to destroy. So that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, that is very true. So yeah, to remake or to save Tamriel, you have to destroy it. Is apparently the what Dagon wanted to do. I don't know. It was weird, and so.
Well, I don't think that at all.
What don't you think?
Well, no, because if we go to Skyrim, and I know there's a lot of stuff pulled from Skyrim, but if you go to Dawn, what's the city? Dawn, whatchamacallit?
Dawnstar.
Dawnstar?
Dawnstar, yes. Okay, so in Dawnstar, there's a museum to the Mythic Dawn. Oh, and you kind of go there. Spoilers, by the way, but the game's been out for a lot of years, so you guys can get over it.
Yeah.
And if you're watching this, you've probably already played it.
Yeah.
Let's face it. Yeah.
You're talking to this guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I have pieces of the Mysterium Xarxes, and also I'm rebuilding the Razor. So I need you to go to these places, get the pieces of the Razor, and then meet me back at the altar of Dagon." So Dagon's like, "Dude, you went out and got it. You kill this nerd. This cult has fulfilled its purpose. It's no longer needed anymore." So I don't think Dagon really came to take Tamriel back at all. I think he just came to toss it into a revolution via destruction, which he did. He removed the septums, which is, fairly significant, and brought about the fall of man.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Dagon knew exactly what he was doing.
I have no idea, honestly. Maybe.
It may have been a situation where Dagon was just suddenly in this position where he literally couldn't fail.
Yeah.
Too big to fail.
Look at how Martin repelled Dagon. I mean, it was a reactionary thing by the Daedra, or by the Aedra rather. It was reactionary.
He had to put on an oversoul just to take him on. That's true.
Yeah, but I think Dagon knew that was going to happen. Because, hell, they got to the Imperial City.
Well, he really took a huge gamble of getting himself killed just to do that. Because
Dagon, he doesn't really, he can really not get killed. I mean, he
doesn't get killed, but he definitely got thrown into the waters of the Oblivion for a while, I bet.
Well, no, it's the physical form of the greater Daedra don't work that way. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I don't. That's a good question. I would argue that probably.
the spheres of the Daedra are literally the Daedra. The planes of Oblivion are literally the Daedra, as well as the personified forms.
Yeah.
It's a literal, when Dagon steps foot on Tamriel, it's literally the dead. It's not the Deadlands, but the Badlands, or what?
That's the Deadlands.
It's the Deadlands, yeah.
It is the Deadlands. Okay, it's literally the Deadlands touching down.
Don't tell
on
Pinnacle
Tamriel.
Entertainment. Which is actually something interesting to think about next time you guys are playing Oblivion and you go to through one of the Oblivion gates. You are literally walking through the inside of Mehrunes Dagon.
Yep.
Or his manifestation, or whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. We don't know if he was at his full power when he walked through the gates. We don't know if how much energy it takes to become a manifestation of yourself. You know.
Maybe the physical form that we witness in Tamriel could be just the human approximation of a sphere of an entity of a Daedra. It could be sort of like the way we envision the spheres of the Aedra as planes, like stars. The way we envision both halves of Lorkhan as a moon, as two moons. It could just be that this is the way that that Tamriel deals with the essence of a Daedra, is to show it as a giant, half-naked red man with four arms.
I don't know. I more prefer to think of it that, if a Daedra were to be on Nerd, they would hate it because they are like a higher dimensional being, and being cramped into this, very mortal, very three-dimensional, finite world would be just bullshit. They would hate it.
Lawful,
either bring down the walls or get the fuck out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They kind of have to crystallize themselves. Huh?
Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so is that why Mehrunes Dagon was able to be defeated, because he had been limited by the mortal sphere?
Conceivably, but the way he was defeated was awfully nuclear. I mean, it was like the biggest option you could get. It's just we're going to send an avatar of like the god of time down here to fuck you up.
Or you could use a knife with 100% magic weakness.
I'm sure we could have rigged something up. I'm sure. I mean, come on. A Morrowind player would not have let that shit get in his way.
No, hey man, I'm an Oblivion player, and I didn't let that shit get in my way.
There are two Michael Zieglers in the chat right now.
Yes.
I see that. He has duplicated himself.
It's the Ziegler. It's Ziegler and Ziegler. Wow.
That's insane.
This is so metaphysically stunning, I can't even explain.
Does that mean we're the witnesses?
Yeah, that's right. Oh my god. I'm the witness.
Close my eyes. Let him guys be maimed.
This is so perfect.
It's Ziegler and Ziegler.
Wait, what number Lorecast is this?
This is 18.
18, epic.
Oh, we just lost one. Damn it.
Dude, no, that's supposed to happen, though.
You're right. The two have become one.
They have to collapse into one.
And look at his picture. We've
witnessed it and we've collapsed the waveform. It's so perfect. Oh, this is the best Lorecast I've ever done.
It's a guy meditating, about to dream. We're witnessing an Amaranth here.
Oh, dip.
I'm glad it was you, Michael. I'm glad it was you.
Where's Mankar Camoran's an Antiomorph?
Well,
Martin Septum, I would think.
Yeah,
okay,
but I don't think there was a true enantiomorph.
Wait a minute.
It'd be the champion, Martin, and Mankar, I guess.
That could be.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. I would argue that Mankar Camoran has already seen his enantiomorph.
I would also argue the same, and then I would argue that his enantiomorph was Mankar, and Mankar.
Bingo.
Yep.
Oh,
Interesting.
As usual, we are thinking the same thing.
I wrote a thing.
I would think that you'd go with Maztix or whatever. Maztiax?
Maztiac? You mean Lig?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
mean, we have not talked about Lig, and we kind of
right.
do.
Oh, come on. We talk about it all the time.
Well, he does.
I mean,
since we're talking about Lig,
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave. Oh.
What? Oh, he's gonna. Okay, we're switching sides. All right.
Oh.
That was awesome.
And he's now the coffee stain of Putnam. So. Lig does get mentioned pretty often in the Mysterium in the commentaries, right?
Yes.
I mean, basically the whole. Part of the second volume, I think, and then
the fourth volume is really when they get it. Oh yeah, the second volume too. I forgot.
Yeah, and the fourth one's basically all Lig, basically describing.
Oh yeah.
And the
fall of Lig. Yeah, and yeah. I don't know. As far as Mastiak and Mankar with an anti-morph, I'm gonna say no. Mastiak's so much bigger.
Oh yeah. Well, he's also dead by the time.
Yeah, I mean, he's dead. I mean, there's an idea of him that's still kind of strong. Prior to the fall of the League was strong. Which I don't know. I don't really know how to describe him. I've never really. I know what I have. What I think of him, but
is Mastiak an anagram for something?
Good question. I don't know.
Probably. We can make it one.
Yeah, they can make it one. Find a way. So I wanted to ask you guys a question because we in Morrowind we were presented with the 20 or the 36 lessons, and essentially it tells you how to walk the walk and become a ruling king. That's what I summarize it all over. I don't like how Mankar is presented in some ways as kind of like the big crazy bad, because he's not. He's more than that. He's a much more interesting character. So what I want to know is, from your guys' opinions, what was Mankar truly after? Was he really this culty leader that was just an insane big bad, or was he something more? Which
there was more.
Why?
There was more to it, but
why did he write the commentaries on the Mysterium Xarxes? Why is he giving this information to us? Is it a love letter to us?
Yes. Okay.
Well, okay. Let me just say really fast. Let me inject something really quickly. The commentaries on the Mysterium Xarxes are related in both tone and content to the commentaries written by
Mankar?
Real life guy. Aleister Crowley. About
that's what you were reaching for.
Yeah, that took forever. Yeah. I don't know where the hell that was.
Gorgeous.
Aleister Crowley wrote commentaries on his own sermons to try to explain them better to people. And so all of his commentaries, which, by the way, read a lot like the commentaries on the Mysterium Xarxes, all of his commentaries were explanations of other material. So that means the commentaries on the Mysterium Xarxes are, and it's important to remember this, explanations of subjects spoken about in the Mysterium Xarxes.
Exactly.
So if the commentaries are what you get, what the fuck was going on in the Mysterium Xarxes?
Yeah.
Well, you have it. You pick it up, and it's just a bunch of symbols. So I don't know exactly how Cameron inferred anything from the Mysterium Xarxes.
I would suggest that the Mysterium Xarxes tell you what Mankar Camoran is trying to tell you in the commentaries, which is that the realm of Lorkhan has been usurped by the Aedra and needs to go back to the children of Lorkhan.
It's sort of sad that there wasn't any Martin Septim's commentaries on the Mysterium Xarxes.
Which were? Huh? Which were? Did Martin Septim have commentaries?
No, he didn't. I'm sad that there weren't any.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. There was a transcription The Mysterium Xarxes was a transcription of the Agma Infinium, which
Yes.
was originally written by Xarxes. Who is
At the behest of...
At the behest of Hermes Mora.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Xarxes was technically a fragment of Arche, the god of life and death.
Good.
Who is a... Come on, people. Psychopath?
Right. Or...
God, who is he a psychopomp for? I like your fucking face right now.
Come on, you're getting there.
What?
He's a psychopomp for, God, I'm gonna say Anu? No. Akka. The Akka Oversoul. No. The Sharmat. The Dream Sleeve.
I'm not making any sense now.
Why does life and death exist?
Oh, because of Lorkhan, of course. Because
There
of Lorkhan.
you go.
Yeah, okay.
So
he's a psychopomp for Lorkhan.
right.
Okay. So Lorkhan is the Daedra.
Right. So the Mysterium Xarxes is a translation of the Agma Infinium, which was written by
A psychopomp.
About
Lorkhan, I guess.
about the nature of reality,
Yeah,
about life and death.
About Lorkhan's world's reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so,
Before Madness.
inferring that he was able to understand that Lorkhan was the true Daedra. Well, not Xarxes, but Mehrunes Dagon probably inferred that Lorkhan was the true lord of the realm of Nirn and Mundus and all that.
I got to tell you, I find it highly believable that most, if not all, of the Daedra know that. Like,
Well, that's probably very true. Well, maybe not all, but a lot.
Yeah, but true. I guess it's possible that not all of them do, but I'll bet you most of them do. Or at least got to be more than one. I just don't buy that nobody knows it. I'm sure that Boethia is in on it. I'm sure it pisses her off.
Oh, probably.
But
What are you talking about? Boethia. Boethia rewrote itself as the little lapdog of Lorkhan. She's like the little sister that wants to be around him all the time. It's like,
yeah.
Boethia is to the adoring man.
That's such a sweet and really terrible way to think about it.
It is. I'm gonna go slaughter a bunch of people for you.
Yay! Lorkhan Senpai, notice me!
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, that's a terrible way to put it.
Clovian Warlord Goldbrand. See what happens.
Yeah. So I think that's what is in the Agma Infinium. I think the Agma Infinium teaches you about the true nature of reality.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's what happens to Ziltoid the Omniscient at the end of his first album. I think it's about the reason why mortals can't read the Agma Infinium without some help is because it's just too much dankness. It's just the whole bucket of the whole bucket, right in their face.
Skills when you're
Bucket of
that
dank.
comprehended.
Yeah. Whole bucket of dank.
Too dank.
Too dank. So the I
Lore cards against humanity. That's what I was thinking of earlier.
right, yeah.
Oh
So
Lord.
the question I have, I guess, is why is Mankar trying to tell us what is in the Mysterium Xarxes? What is he trying to tell us?
Well,
What or why? I didn't hear you right.
What and why?
Oh, okay. Both.
what and why? It's another path to Numantia. It's. I mean,
Yeah.
he flat out tells you, it's at the very end of the commentaries. It's all for Numantia, and his way of getting there is just very fucked up.
Wait a second. Franzen,
What?
is this another Walking Away?
Thank you. Ah, finally, somebody else gets it.
I was always like, it's a path to immortality, obviously. But
but not necessarily a path to being a ruling king.
Right.
Well, that's okay. I'm still like.
Well, I mean,
I'm still oscillating back and forth between the purposes of the 6 walking ways anyway. So
I mean,
yeah.
Even a ruling king, you can kind of say, yeah, maybe.
Well,
I've got my own opinions on the walking ways at this point.
Throws some of them at you in the lessons too. Like the lessons, the commentaries, like the line about Kim in there. It doesn't really. It seems like kind of out of nowhere, but I think he's trying to say, like, look, this is something you can look into.
Oh, well, yeah, he obviously knows what the hell he's talking about when he's talking about Kim. Sort of. Except I don't know all that he's saying. There was the line where he says it's like, I think that Kim is your ward against the Menomoly. They run blue through noise and shine only when the earth trembles with eruption of the newly mantled. Tell them go, Gartok al Menem, God is come, Numimora, Num Dali Nem. And I don't know what he's saying there. I don't understand. The Elnofex is beyond me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Elnofex, I suspect, is one of these days I'm probably going to corner Kirk Bride and he's going to tell me we just fucking make shit up, dude.
I mean, I'll tell you right now.
I seriously suspect that's going to happen. Yeah, that's the worst part is that I know for a fact he doesn't remember what half of that shit means and he wrote it.
I asked him because I'm like, dude, what the fuck does this mean? He's like, I don't know. Well, I mean, think about it.
It's been 10 years. He's like, I don't. It was a decade ago, and I wrote it and never thought about it again. He's like, I don't know.
And everyone's like, please tell us.
Please tell us. Well, this is actually good news because this means that it can mean whatever the fuck you want it to mean, which seems like a great idea. Seems like a bad thing, but I've said this more and more times than I could remember, which is that the explanation that you have for something is the best explanation you will ever hear, and the actual explanation for things are always going to disappoint you.
The one that you like the best is yours, probably.
Yeah, so, that's the best one. It's the best one. Yeah. Every once in a while you get something that's really obscenely dank, and everybody's just like, "Shit, that's way better than what I thought." But I mean that happens, but it not often. Like that's rare, Yeah.
Well, it's all I know is that Gartok means weapon hand. Literally.
We were pretty good on Gartok and Altadune, and obviously we know Chim to death, and A is pretty well covered. Yeah, Nem is probably Mnoli, or it could be related to a concept of the Mnoli, which like some aspect of them or something.
Right.
Owl actually used in online's cover art or something like that?
I'm sorry?
Is it?
I think Owl, that piece of Elnofex.
Was it?
Yeah, it might have been. I know there's Daedric lettering that reads Elnofex on Elder Scrolls Online's cover.
Yeah, but it's the same thing that's on all of the seals of Molag Bal, and it's like Tamriel must submit to the will of Molag Bal or something. I translated it on like day one, and it was like, oh, that's kind of not that great actually. It's not nearly as like super deep as I thought it was going to be.
It's not dank.
Yeah, really? Dank. It's like a 4. It's dank. It's Daedric. I mean, Daedric is intrinsically dank, but it's 4. It's not 10. I'm looking for 10.
Yeah, I don't know what all is because I know all.
Like Morrowind, which was fairly Morrowind's Daedric lettering that you find in places which are mostly signs.
Yeah, true.
Or things just saying like Redoran.
Yeah, yeah. There's all the names of all the cantons in Vivek. Like there's all this Daedric around there, and it's just directions. It's just trying to tell you how to get around.
The Daedric in the commentaries, that's pretty dank.
Yeah, that's true.
First true. It says Dagon, Altadune, Kim, Gartok.
Yeah.
Not sure if that's supposed to mean anything. You take
Dagon, Altadune, Kim, Gartok. So we're talking Dagon.
Is the weapon of the open palm?
the royal hand.
Dagon weapon royal
Is the
hand.
weapon of the royal hand, which is what he's trying to tell you in like Sermon 1 or in Book 1. He's saying that you're going to become royalty, and Dagon is the weapon that you will use, that the royalty use.
And I've always thought that Mankar was just using Dagon as a weapon. That there, all this praise to Dagon was just false pontification. Like, he knew exactly what he was going for, and he knew how to get there.
Yeah, I can completely see that end of it. It doesn't seem, it seems totally plausible to me.
I mean, I'm not saying he disrespects Dagon. I'm not trying to say that. Like, he has reverence for right. But he knew how to weaponize him.
Yeah, I agree. This is a frighteningly good episode so far. We've had a lot of really accurate answers, and it scares me a little bit. So can somebody fuck it up real quick?
Challenge accepted. I actually have a question about that.
Go for it.
Okay, so
now ask your question, and then I have a question for you afterwards.
Okay, cool. Have we talked about Mehrunes Dagon as Liber Demon King yet?
Yes.
A little bit.
We skimmed over it a bit.
Okay, a little bit. Okay, so instead of it being that Mankar has weaponized Dagon, could Dagon be weaponizing Mankar as a way to bring back the aspects of Creatia from previous Kalpas?
Yes.
That seems totally plausible. Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry,
Sorry, Chris. Sorry.
Oh no, dude! I totally agree. I mean, they both can feel like they're playing each other. I mean, at the end result's the same. They're both assuming they're going to get what they want.
Dagon wants
win-win.
Dagon wants Mankar to bring back the pieces of creation from the previous Kalpas.
No, he's using him to unmake creation so he can take the bits that were from previous Kalpas and give them back to Alduin in an effort to get back to his protonymic as the Liber Demon King.
Gotcha. Well, that means he'd have to purge himself of the Mehrunes, wouldn't he? He'd have to purge himself of, like, the
I think so.
It's destruction either way, though, isn't it?
I think so.
It is destruction, and then it's recreation after that because he's destroying himself and then putting himself back together.
Oh. So maybe bringing everything back to the dawn point of creation allows Mehrunes Dagon to recreate himself as just the Leaper Demon King.
Yes. That is an interesting concept. I never even thought about that. I like it.
That's a cool
I'm not
idea.
the biggest fan of it, but that's just personal preference. I just like to think that Dagon's left that shit behind him now. Like, he's
That's possible.
Totally embraced it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a personal opinion. That's nothing.
I would assume that the Razor changed his protonymic, or his neonymic, or whatever you want to call it, his nymic.
It would have been his protonymic. Neonymic would be what he is now.
Okay.
Neo is new. Proto is first.
Oh yeah, first. But it changed his protonymic, I guess, into what he is, and changed him and his mindset and everything about him. But I always feel like
true, yeah.
Mehrunes Dagon, or Dagon rather, he still has a piece of Dagon inside of him, and he still wants to be Dagon. He still wants to remember what it was like to be Leaper Demon King.
Yeah, in theory, protonymic surgery would keep that from happening because that's the whole point of re-entering your mother is to completely eradicate who you were before and become somebody different. But
and he did eradicate who he was before.
Yeah, but at the same time, keeping part of your old self around or your old self still inside of you somehow is better plot. It's a better story. So I like that.
Wanting to go back and redo or change things.
Yeah, it's another layer of desire, which is always good for plotline. Yeah.
Well, and okay, so Mehrunes Dagon would bring about the dawn, which basically means he'd walk in and he'd knock down all the towers, and then the dawn would reset, the Kalpa would reset, and a new Kalpa would begin, right? Okay, I was just checking.
Or just all the spirits convene again at.
Whenever the Kalpa returns, the convention happens again.
Oh, wasn't that a point that Michael was trying to bring up in a forum post where he was suggesting the idea that the cycle begins at convention and not before it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
That's the
That
way
makes my
I've
head
always
hurt.
observed it.
Because that's when your time is created.
Which means that Tamriel's always going to happen, and that we are stuck in this. The awful
Well,
fighting will always continue.
Unless I
unless
see,
they can
here's the
intervene.
problem. We know that convention is literally, it's two things. It's all the spirits, the major spirits, meet up and say, hey, here's this plan of creation, what we do. And then the thing that kind of seals convention is the death of Lorkhan.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Because somebody has to die for it to be
maimed. Someone has to be maimed. Or,
real. Sorry, yeah, you're right.
you know, it harkens back to Nur, right?
Right.
And I feel like that if, let's say for instance, we're going back to convention right now, we break all the towers. We all convene at Adamantia, all the stars fall from the sky, all the spirits are there, Lorkhan is now not dual, he's singular, and so we're all here, and we're like, hey guys, we get to start over again, what do?
Well, I number one, kill Lorkhan.
Yeah, number one, kill Lorkhan.
Apparently.
The awful fighting begin again.
Yeah, and the awful fighting began again. Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, this is the dream of Anu, and that means it's a dream about betrayal and death.
Yes.
So.
Then Lorkhan keeps getting betrayed, or rather, who gets betrayed?
or maybe not betrayed, but definitely killed. Yeah.
When gets betrayed?
Who isn't betrayed?
Yeah, well, we don't know, actually. We don't know if Lorkhan betrayed the Aedra, or if the Aedra betrayed Lorkhan.
Well, that's what all the fighting's about, is who screwed who first. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now,
Bad
so
guy.
many cycles have passed, no one remembers anymore.
I know. We should just sit back and laugh about the whole thing. It's just, I don't even remember what we were fighting about.
Yeah, let's have a beer. Let's just have a tasty brew.
The problem, okay, yeah, here's the funny thing. You can't forget what they were fighting about, because it always starts at the exact moment that people had the disagreement that was worth fighting over, they thought.
And it was also at the very beginning of the point where people were able to remember anything in the first place.
That's true, too.
So this is literally their first memory, is one of betrayal and death.
Well, but the Aedra don't they remember through Kalpa? Apparently they shed their skin.
Sometimes.
And
That does seem that way, yeah.
Sometimes.
And become more aware as the
occasionally.
Kalpa.
The problem is that the spirit that convened at the previous Kalpa may be several spirits now.
Right.
See, it keeps
Jesus.
combining upon itself. So it gets more and more complex as time goes on. You know, in theory.
Oh gosh.
So you have this flowery spiral, and you're riding it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sooner or later, you're going to drop out the bottom, but that's when Jubal shows up. So yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of complex spirits and Lorkhan and Oriel, was Mankar Camoran Dragonborn?
Oh Jesus! Not this argument again.
Oh right.
It's because he's wearing the Chimel at all. He's wearing the stone of the Emperor.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Fuck you. Why not?
The question is what do we define Dragonborn as? Is it Dovahkiin or is it royalty?
Right.
That's
Or
another
both.
argument in itself.
Or is it simply to be the Kogon Akatosh, the blessed of Akatosh?
That could be too.
Oh.
A Dragonborn is someone who can shout really well.
Why would you Akatosh when
And you know Mankar Camoran shouts a lot of things really complex.
For sure.
Does.
Why would Cameron want to be the Akatosh when he clearly hates Akatosh? Just like Prime Marin's Dagon hates Akatosh, because Akatosh usurped Lorkhan, the true lord of the realm, and became the new lord of the realm.
I feel like Cameron could have just cheated with the Amulet of Kings.
I think he just console coded it. He's just like equip item, etc.
Although
Cut himself in such a way that it fools the amulet itself into thinking he is worthy.
Well,
That suggests that the amulet is like a freaking.
It's not unprecedented.
Or something.
Yeah.
You know,
That's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
I
it
don't
wouldn't
mean
be the first
worthy,
time
but
either.
you know what I mean.
Apparently,
the
if we're going
Imperial
off the episode.
Simulacrum, that's exactly what happened. So,
Yeah, that could be. Maybe it was because he was just so obscenely powerful that the gem was just like, yeah, all right, it'll work.
yeah.
You know, it can't
Again,
tell.
it's
I mean, it's a fucking
and-
rock, dude. How
I mean-
bright can it be?
ESO kind of fucking like
Oh God.
it almost touches on that, except it's like this emperor just didn't have the fucking chops to do it, you know?
Yeah. The new guy who showed up
He
was
he,
like
he didn't
just
he didn't
not
have
good
it.
enough. Yeah, he didn't. He wasn't it.
It picked Mankar Camoran instead.
I almost think that I know it states that a Dragonborn must be, Dragonborn in being those selected by Akatosh or witnessed, if you will, by Akatosh, are the other ones enabled to wear the amulet.
Well, remember, you're confusing Dragonborn and Dragonblooded, aren't you?
Yeah.
Are we?
Because Dragonborn are the ones that can use the Thume and shout, and they can absorb dragon souls. The Dragonblooded are
But
just like, hey.
just because you are Dovahkiin does not mean that you are shouting.
That you are.
You have to
That's
be
right.
locked. You know,
Right.
it's like when you were a prisoner in Skyrim, you were no one, and then suddenly you're introduced to a dragon soul and you're unlocked. You're awakened, if you will.
Okay, yeah, you're just a normal dude otherwise.
And
I mean,
again,
also
it's like saying, are you
prisoner, but
born?
that's- yeah.
Are you? I know it's in the name, but are you born a Dragonborn or are you made a Dragonborn? Is the question.
Well, it's definitely the latter, and is what I would argue. I mean, like, well, for example, like to become like a ruling king, the 36 Lessons uses the ruling king term interchangeably with the idea of a master.
Yes.
Okay? And in Hermetic philosophy, a master is somebody who has become enlightened by Hermetic philosophy, by the knowledge, by the fire, you know.
Yeah. So I feel like that Mankar Camoran was not Dragonborn, but he was royalty to the point where the amulet was like, yeah, you'll do.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
I think so too.
Your will.
The female out of all has more to do with royalty than it has to do with being Dragonborn.
Well, you see,
yeah, it's sort of like you could argue, therefore, that the Chimil Adabal decided that Mankar Camoran was worthy of being a master.
Yes.
That which effectively means that he was.
Yeah, and you
I
see,
can buy that.
it's just in Tamrielic society, it's ruled by the Covenant, right? The Covenant with Akatosh, and anyone who is going to become emperor has to be a part of, under the will of Akatosh. Therefore, I don't know.
Yeah.
We actually had a really big theme of insanity.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Insanity.
Franzen has just suggested that the Amulet of Kings is the Hogwarts sorting hat.
Legit. Seems legit.
Yeah. So everybody crank up your Harry Potter Elder Scrolls fanfiction. Come on, post it in the comments below.
We'll get a much larger fan base that way.
Please don't be dressed. Please don't be dressed. I want to be a halalu.
I love it. Who would want to be a halalu? They're the Slytherin of the...
I mean, I wonder if we could take the great
Yeah.
houses and compare them to
Oh yeah.
like
There's three of them.
Slytherin.
Come on. Yeah.
Redoran.
Redoran is clearly Hufflepuff.
Slytherin's got to be.
I'm torn. I'm torn on Redoran.
Are they Gryffindor or Hufflepuff?
They're definitely Gryffindor. Yeah.
I guess they're brave, so they're technically Gryffindor.
True.
I mean, when I think of Hlalu, I think of Hufflepuff. Like,
Really?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no, they blindly follow authority.
Asses and backstabbing.
Hmm.
Maybe the
Okay,
word tongue.
all right. See, what did I say? Can somebody please fuck up this cast? We've been too good. And now we're in Harry Potter.
That's right.
Michael, are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, I have a really, 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 like, maybe I'll edit this video and take this out.
Oh my goodness.
Question. So earlier we were talking about reaching wisdom or enlightenment through torture.
Mm-hmm.
Can you draw a connection between that and the crucifixion of Christ? The crucifixion of Christ.
Of course I can.
Okay, go.
Of course I can. That would be the Roman Catholic idea of redemptive suffering, that it is through some form of suffering, whether it be ritual or just bad things happening to you in life, that the process of pain acts as the purgation of the soul. In this case, with Christ, it would mean that Christ is, his suffering provides the purification for all souls.
Okay.
Now what's the point?
I'm sorry. I'm furiously taking notes because this is relevant to Servant 14 or 18.
Oh, okay, cool. The point. Well, I don't know. This may be off topic, but when are we never not off topic? The point would be, the point in the big picture is the ultimate reconciliation of the entire creation back to God. And because it was humanity that messed everything up, it's humanity that becomes the key to, or the beginning.
This is humanity who messed everything up by the betrayal of Adam and Eve in the garden, right?
Exactly. Yes! And then by the obedience of Christ in the garden, Gethsemane, not my will, but your will be done, and his subsequent crucifixion, etc., and rebirth, you see the beginning of the salvation and redemption of creation. I am dying to know how this fits into Elder Scrolls, because I might have to write a thesis on this.
Are you kidding? How doesn't it? It's entirely relevant.
Well, that's true.
Hugely relevant.
Every time I'm going to be a Lorebeard,
exegesis episode.
if you're going to be a Lorebeard, you better like comparative religion, because...
Oh, I do. I definitely do.
So, you better not take this out, and if you guys are offended, you're just going to have to get over it, because...
Then you get out.
I'm the ruler!
Just do it, man. Just do it.
Like, for example, there's a lot of the crucifixion reflected in the Death of Lorkhan.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like, does Lorkhan's torture, quote unquote, torture and death, being torn in half by Trinimac, does that is his suffering therefore the suffering that purifies the souls of mortals and allows them to leave the Kalpic cycle?
I love it.
Which is something that a little shocked me about Coda, was that Jubal had such a great life. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of thematically, I expected something a little bit more Siddhartha kind of, like, you know, guy leaves his palace of opulence to become to suffer out in the wilderness underneath the Bodhi tree and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Or almost maybe like a certain Khajiit that ends up on the moon and... Oh, wait, no, never mind.
Well, when Kirkbride finally...
What could that be?
Yeah, the moment Kirkbride starts taking suggestions from other people, I'm sure we'll be first in line.
I'm still waiting on the day of Wrath, so...
Yeah. Kept right on, Franzen. Okay, well, we've gone an hour and 15 minutes, and that was really good. Michael, you got in here a little late. Is there anything you wanted to talk about specifically about Mankar Camo?
Honestly, I came to learn, because this is definitely an area that I don't know as much about. But I am sure that once I've watched the video, I'll have like 8 million thoughts.
Oh shit! Then go watch it. I don't know. Is it like do you have any questions off the top of your head? If we already answered it, I'll let you know. But you know,
nothing off the top of my head.
Okay. All right.
I'm a little disappointed that Franzen didn't rant about Lig for a good half hour.
Well,
wait. He didn't talk about Lig?
Yeah,
No,
talk about Lig.
Did a little.
Talk to me about Lig, brother.
That's a whole.
Did we even
That's
mention
all
who
thing.
made the razor was made there?
Yeah, that's all we know. That's all we know.
That's not all you know. I mean, I posted some stuff, man.
So I just want to make an interjection before we end.
Mm-hmm.
If whoever is watching this have any questions, any thoughts, whatever, please post them in the comments. We will eventually get to your comments and answer them.
After 3 or 4.
I think.
After 3 or 4 months.
Ask questions about Lig. I'll answer them in the comments, like for real.
Yeah.
Or I'll do a video response or something.
Lig's not. There's not like a boatload of information from Bethesda people about Lig, but there's a boatload of information in Franz's head, and so I know I'm almost positive that we've covered what Lig actually is in a previous cast. Do we want to run through that again just in case so people don't have to go digging?
Do it.
So the very first sit down and brainstorm meeting that they had at Bethesda for Tamriel was a bunch of guys, including Kirkbride and Kuhlman, and I think there was some. I think you mentioned who else was there, but I don't remember who was. I don't remember if Howard was there, but
Uncle Ken was there.
Yeah, Uncle Ken was there. And so they all sat around a table in the Bethesda offices with a map of Tamriel, and they were just sort of passing it around the table, writing little notes in the margin and stuff, and just basically talking, just brainstorming the lore. And so while they're having this conversation, they're making little marks in the margin and stuff like that, and somebody set off the fire alarm in the building that they're at. Or I remember that like they finish like the draft and stuff like that, and somebody gets pissy about something and balls up the map and throws it in the trash can. And right about at that same time, the fire alarm goes off and the sprinklers start, and everybody starts running out of the office. And somebody thinks, "Jesus, save the map!" So they grab the trash can and they run out of the office. And they get back to somebody's house, I don't know who, and they get the map on the table and spread it out, and it's got like it's been wet, and blurred and nasty, and they can't really read anything anymore, and it's got a big coffee stain on it from somebody sat down a coffee mug on it because I think probably Kirkbride was drinking shit tons of coffee, and and so there's like and so Lig kind of became like they couldn't really recover a lot of the information, and so Lig kind of became the Tamriel that almost was but isn't, it's because
literally a prior Kalpa.
Yeah, it's literally a prior Kalpa, and it's a Tamriel that was like in existence but then got erased because a fire alarm went off. And the fire and the sprinklers ruined the map, and the sound that the fire alarm made was lig a 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 lig. And that's where the name Lig comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Your story makes so much more sense now,
Yeah.
Chris.
That's why Lig is called the coffee stain of Tamriel. It's because it's the old version
It is
of
a
Tamriel.
coffee stain of Tamriel. Can you confirm, Chris, that it is a previous Kalpa? Because I did not know that.
Not necessarily a previous Kalpa, more so than it was, around in previous Kalpas, I guess you could say.
When you hear Kirkbride or somebody talk about something that happened in a previous Kalpa, sometimes it's a nod to that early version of Tamriel. And sometimes it's just totally something new they just made up.
Yeah, this bullshit we made up suddenly.
I like
fun.
Like Drew Kings and stuff like that,
Yeah, that was in it, I think.
previous Kalpa. Yeah.
Coral Kingdoms and
Yeah.
Glass and Coral, yeah. This is all from the. I think we've also mentioned the original pitch for the Elder Scrolls that Kirkbride and Kuhlman made to Todd Howard. Did we talk about that?
No,
I
what's
love
that?
that story.
Basically, they had decided they'd been playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, just like nerds do back then. You do what you do, and this was right around or right after they did Daggerfall, and Kirkbride and Kuhlman had this idea for a new game universe, and basically their idea was that you were going to have like people, maybe races, maybe not, but just people, mortals, in these spaceships that look like flying moths.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
And birds made out of math, and they were going to fly
planets and
around
shit.
the planets and shit. And for example, like metal was really really rare. So like if somebody made a cannonball, they gave it a name. So every cannonball had a name on it, and
awesome.
and they would it was sort of like if you're a Dungeons and Dragons nerd, you can kind of imagine Spelljammer meets Dark Sun,
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the universe was like. And so they pitched this to Todd Howard, and Todd Howard was like, very interesting. Why don't you take the Elder Scrolls universe that we're doing in these 2 games we've already done, and just sort of make it like that?
Just shoehorn it in.
Yeah, and that literally, and so Kirkbride's reaction to this was, fuck! And so
that's how we got Morrowind.
Yeah, and that is literally how we got. Well, that's how we got Morrowind and Redguard. Yeah, and Battlespire is that's how they got these 3 completely excellent games.
Awesome.
Was because they did what good game designers do. You are given a constraint and you make the best fucking product you can, and that's how all good creation comes from. An idea surrounded by limitation, like the spokes of a wheel.
Oh boy!
We
Yeah,
still need
buddy.
more
And on that dank note, we're gonna call it.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back whenever we're here.
Yep.
Yeah,
Bye.
ask Lig questions.
See ya.
Yes, ask Lig questions in the comments below, and Franzen will answer them. He's at your he's at your.
Yeah.
Bethesda?
He'll do what you
I
tell
am
him.
here to service
Yes.
you.
Best. Thank you. Bye bye.